So let's move on to our next presenter now, who's Graeme Manietta. And he's one of the many visionary people at this conference today who took an early interest in electric vehicles. And he's been paving the way for do-it-yourself electric vehicle conversions. So as a motor mechanic and auto electrician, Graeme's the founder and managing director of Oz DIY Electric Vehicles. So if you're considering a project of converting a car to electric, Graeme's got all the key questions that you need to consider before launching off on this undertaking. So I give you Graeme Manietta.
Hi, okay, thank you for having me. Yeah, as you said in the intro, our main objective is to assist people to do a budget conversion themselves at home. We've done all sorts of vehicles. I mean, amazing what people come up with, and they say, well, can I convert this? And the answer is, you can convert anything, really, you can. But so we saw a market for budget conversion. So most of our new components come from China. We are selective about what we use, you know. So it's a situation where people would do as much of themselves, and what they can't do, they pop back to us. For example, we've got an ST90 carrier ute, which is a bit of a rare vehicle in the workshop at the moment, and this man's done all the fabrication work. He's restored the body shell. He's installed all the components. He's just dropped it back to us for the wiring because he's not confident with the wiring. Most people will have us fabricate up the connection between the motor and the gearbox. We're doing one of those for a Rover at the moment. And so we'll put it back on a pallet, motor attached to the gearbox, send it back to him and let him do what he can do. So this way they can save several $1,000s on having it done professionally. And we're just here to be a helping hand and guide them along the way. So what we normally talk to people out, and Russell touched on this, and people ring up, and they've got unrealistic expectations. They want a Tesla performance, but at a fraction of the Tesla price. Well, you can do so much. You can't have that performance for 10 grand or anything ridiculous like that. Anyway, so we start with people and we say, what's your motive to have an EV? And most of the people don't really give that too much consideration. For us personally, for Simone and I, we run the business here together. We still drive the same cars we converted back in 2008, which were some old Suzuki Swifts that would have returned to scrap metal had we not saved them. So to us, upcycling is a big part of that, and recycling. And in a lot of these conversions, we actually have secondhand batteries, just like Russell was talking about the used Tesla batteries. We're getting a good line on some secondhand Nissan Leaf batteries at the moment. So these are good practices. These are good things to upcycle, recycle, and do it yourself. What could be better? I find that people have done these conversions themselves, know exquisitely how these things work, and not going to bug me about repairs and maintenance. You know, a recent one was a Model T Ford that this old fellow had found in his barn that had been sitting there for some 30 years. And when they reassembled it, they realised what they had, but the motor was solidly seized. Well, we helped him out, did what we could for him here at the workshop, shipped it all off to him at Western New South Wales somewhere, and a few weeks later we get this wonderful video of them laughing, driving this Model T Ford around the paddocks. It was just fabulous. And he had a little bit of a problem with some wiring. It was a quick phone call. He understood straight away what we were talking about. Because he's a DIY guy, he could fix it. It didn't have to go on a truck and come to us. So DIY is a great thing for people that know what they're doing, and we're here to help them out. So why would you convert a car? Another question that Russell touched on, and people have got to examine the reasoning. Some want something fast, some want a commuter car that's cheap to run, some are concerned with the environment, that's our concern, and fuel security is something else that we find a concern. Some people like us like the idea of fueling your own car from your roof of your house, and that's a great thing to do. So before you start a project, we want to talk to people and say, why are you doing this? What's your motive to doing this? What do you need from this car? Some people want a late model car with all the ANCAP ratings, all the safety boxes ticked and all that sort of stuff, and that's fair enough too. But they become problematic and very expensive to do when you talk about communication with things like ABS and SRS and so on. All these electronic things that they exist in a petrol car that you need to somehow spoof or trick into operating once you've done the conversion. Whereas the older cars, there's not so much of that stuff there, you know. So upcycling an older car is a great way to go. We talk about what sort of car. You wouldn't say take a rare collectible hardtop Falcon and convert that. That would be crazy because the thing's worth a $1 zillion as it is. And to do that, you would devalue it. Whereas other cars, similar models, not so rare, just set what we would call semi-collectible, like the EJ Wagon, great prospect, the Ford Transit. I mean, we've done Volkswagen Beetles and all sorts of semi-collectible cars, and I feel we've increased the resale value of the car. So when you're doing these cars, you've got to think about the economics too. It's just not good enough just to throw a whole bunch of money at a car and go at the end, but well, that's just a car. It needs to be something special if you're going to put your blood, sweat, and tears into it. So there's a lot of talk about what if they have a vehicle, they may have some desire to convert the vehicle they own. That's fair enough too, you know. So thinking about all these sort of things. So what's a practical prospect? As simple as possible is the short answer. If you can get a car that doesn't have to have power brakes and air conditioning and all that sort of thing, that's a simple conversion. Everything you add on starts adding on cost and extra work and extra complexities, you know. I'd say up to early 90s cars, piece of cake. Start talking about late 90s cars on, you start getting all these systems in there that you've got to be able to trick them somehow so that so they'll work perfectly on the vehicle without ruining the safety of the vehicle, you know. All can be done. Another good one is kit cars, and I did help a client with a Lotus 7 style kit car. I think it was called a Westfield, and it was just a magic car. It weighed next to nothing. We didn't have to put a very big motor on, and we had excellent performance out of it. And this is this guy's weekend runabout, you know. So kit cars can be a good source of vehicle to run with, and you're not going to be carving up a real classic. You'll be making a kit car. So again, with the DIY theme, you know. So when you're doing a conversion, you've got to think about the how you want to charge it. We generally like to keep things simple, just having your 15 amp outlet on the side of the car, and then if you need to, use adapters for the type 1 or type 2 to 3 pin. That's a simple way to go. Limits you to a 2 kilowatt charge. You could go 3 phase and put 3 simple 2 kilowatt chargers in there. That's a possibility. Or we're now looking at, and it's been done already, where we allocating DC fast charging using the Orion BMS. So therefore, you know, you can use the DC fast chargers on your home built car, but apparently only up to the 50 kilowatt type fast charger. So things like that to think about before you start a conversion. The drivetrain, there's a couple of different ways to go on the drivetrain. You can go clutchless, which means no clutch at all, just direct drive to a gearbox if you like. And to change gears, it's simple enough. Just take your foot off the accelerator, change your gear, put your foot back on, and away you go. Gives you no option for regen braking. Regen braking on lighter cars is probably not a big deal. Whereas on big heavier cars, yeah, you get some benefit from having regen braking. Everybody's got their own opinion on that particular subject. You can go with a clutch, and therefore you can use regen braking. Or you can go direct drive, just eliminate the gearbox altogether, get a much larger motor and go direct drive to the rear drivetrain. And there you can use full regen braking, and that could be a good option too. Something we're looking at the moment is actually direct fitting complete Tesla drive units into some front wheel drive cars. We have a plan to make this somewhat like Russell's idea, a bolt-in kit to one model. So we're looking at the later model Suzuki Swift and fitting Tesla motors straight into the front of those, and we'd have to detune them because they're just way too powerful for a little car. But we have a Swift here. We've fitted a Tesla motor too, so that's good recycling. We're running it on recycled A123 batteries. Initially, we're going to take this car use it for racing. But it's our test bed for the public to do that sort of again, recycling electric car components, putting it into something else, and making a really great electric car. The vehicle to grid charging, people are all talking about. We're just going to put our hands up and not worry about that at this stage. It's even too hard for some of the manufacturers to come up with a perfect system. But with a DIY conversion, you may well find that you could that could be something could be added to the vehicle later, which is the good thing about converted cars is that as technology changes, you part out that bit and you put in the better technology. And this has already happened. We've improved the batteries in our own vehicles once already since we built them, because better battery technology turned up. And because we built the cars ourselves, we're smart enough to work out, well, we'll use these batteries, get rid of those ones, sell them to somebody who's using them on a off-grid as a power wall. And improve the car with a much better range and a better set of batteries. So with DIY you can do that. With factory cars, not so easy. Even though we're several months into a project whereby we're upgrading the battery packs in some of the early Mitsubishi i-MiEVs. That's a R&D that's still going on. So upgrading a factory car is somewhat problematic and difficult. And to get a perfect outcome is sometimes harder. Are you going to save money with an electric vehicle? Definitely. There's no doubt. Forget all those stupid posts on Facebook. You will definitely save money having your own electric vehicle. We've got 2 cars we drive every day, have done since 2008. We have solar at home. We run our entire workshop on solar. So we don't pay for power. They pay us. We don't pay for fuel. We get that paid for by the roof. If we can do it, anybody can do it. It's seriously not that hard. There are ways and means. Do your own conversion. Might take you a few months, but you'll get there. You'll learn something. You'll have the pride of pointing to our car and say, I did that. And that goes a long way. We're still a men in sheds type country where people still do their own thing. We're not totally hopeless in Australia. People love picking up tools and welders, and they love doing this sort of thing, and they love showing off what the work they've done on these vehicles. So that's what we're here for. That's what we believe, and that's where we're heading. I think that's about my time.
That's perfect, Graeme. And look, you mentioned about people taking pride in doing the upgrade themselves, and you certainly should take a lot of pride in the business that you've built and how it's enabling people to really be empowered in this area. So it's wonderful to hear about. Thank you very much.
Thank you.